Everybody, and welcome to week 4. We're moving ahead now, so I just wanted to talk about what we're doing. We've gone through chapters 1 through 5, and I think last week we did 11, 12, and 13. This week we'll cover chapters 6 and 7. I'll give you the instructions for your paper probably in the next day or so, and then towards the end of this week I'll be releasing the midterm. So there's still a lot going on. We're going to have 2 chapters because you'll be starting your paper and doing the midterm, or hopefully getting to the midterm soon, sometime this week or next week, and I want you to get started on your papers. But I wanted to give a quick introduction to chapter 6, interest groups. This is interesting, interesting chapter. You know, there are several different views of interest groups, and right now interest groups tend to have a negative connotation. Generally there are 3 different views. There's the pluralist views that views interest groups as individual groups. Generally, if you could visualize, it would be seen as little circles inside of society, and each circle is pushing forward for its issues, and they generally balance each other out and move democracy forward. And a pluralist view of interest groups are seen as a good thing generally. And then there's the other view, kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is an elitist view, where interest groups are driven. In this view, if you could visualize a triangle, and those at the top would be the elitist, and those towards the bottom of the triangle would be the general public. And the elitist at the tops of all these different interest groups kind of move them forward in a way that is selfish for the needs of that elitist group. And that's seen as a bad thing. And then there's kind of a melding of these 2 groups, and that's called polyarchy. And this is an interesting view where it takes on, it says, let's be reasonable and let's be rational. Political science statistically shows over and over that people who are active in politics tend to be people who are affluent or have a little bit of wealth, and people who are higher educated. So you have this smaller group of people moving forward. Now again, you know, some people might view that like Hegel, which would see those more highly educated might become more selfless and would be what he called the universal class of civil servants, which would selflessly run society and government. But I think a lot of people don't perceive some of the educated and some of the wealthy as these people. And in terms of that, they're seen as negative, so that would be the negative connotation in the elitist view. But in a polyarchy view, it says, yeah, there are these triangles and you have these people at the tops of the groups, but we still have a lot of groups and there's a lot of balance. So it sees it as kind of in the middle. Yet, of course, there's kind of an elitist thing going on in these interest groups, but in some ways they balance each other out. And so that's kind of the different ways of looking at interest groups. So I just wanted to say that real quick. As always, please get into the discussion boards. I think this is going to be a great one for Chapter 6. In Chapter 7 for political parties, I usually don't use the book for that. I have an article that I like you to read. I think I found that. I lost that when my computer crashed, but I think I found that and I'm going to be able to get that to you. And I'm going to put that up probably, hopefully tomorrow. Because it's not from the book, I usually treat that chapter a little bit differently. I think it's great in terms of its philosophical understanding of political parties and its historical context and significance in the development of political parties in terms of the philosophical development, the actual kind of schools of thought that led to the different groups basically that are there now. Kind of there's a right and a left, a more what's called a traditional American Republican versus the progressive view. And so for that, we're probably going to have an assignment for that. I can't wait to see what you have to write. You're doing a great job for those of you who are in the discussion boards. Many of you are behind. Please catch up. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Send me an email, call my office. I love to hear from you, so let me know what's going on. And if there's anything I can do to help, and if you got a question about the material, please let me know, and I'll see you soon.